Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure to be back here again to do a podcast with you. This is episode 45, and you will not believe it. One of my six wives has just brought me some food to go with the to go with the podcast. I have a very, very special guest, of course. So most of you will remember that I said that I was going back to my roots, before I created Laughter Republic, before I became president of a great nation. I went to one of the best secondary schools in Nigeria. The best way to compare it is like the Eton of Africa. And the podcast has given me the opportunity to touch base with colleagues I went to school with. Now the guy I have here is known as Iceman, aka Tunde Alabi. I have not seen him in ages. We're talking probably about last time I probably saw him was probably about 10 years ago, if not more. So I would love to hear what he's been doing. He's a consultant. He's a motivator, and I'm sure you will learn from this episode 45. And today we're going to talk about dreams don't die, do they? And that is it. Just remember that title: Dreams Don't Die, Do They? So let me start by introducing you to my good friend Tunde. It has been a long time. Iceman, it's great you are looking well. It's great that you are alive and kicking. That's all that matters, actually, since this last year of the pandemic. How have you been?
Your Excellency, good evening. All hail, long live Laughter Republic, especially in a time like this. You're looking well. I'm long live the Republic. I am doing fine. I'm doing great. I say that because we've been through a very, very challenging, unpredictable, complex, ambiguous time. But hey, I'm doing very, very good. One key thing I've taken out of this that, sometimes there are unhappy and unhappy moments, but hey, I'm actually doing quite great. It's about putting it in perspective.
Yes, I definitely. So I took a walk today, as I normally do. I give myself at least half an hour to take a walk, and one of my neighbors saw me and said, "How are you today?" I said, "I'm alive," and he just burst out. It was like, "Is that all? I'm alive," and it's amazing how we take for granted that comment, "I'm alive," because there are
Yeah.
quite a number of people who, God bless their souls, who are not alive for one reason or the other.
That is so true. And this thing about I'm alive or I'm just thankful, I'm grateful that I'm around. You see, the reason we don't always acknowledge that is because you see, we have learned to engage in a lot of activity, even if there's no productivity.
Mhm.
Human beings by nature, we need to be seen to be doing something. And sometimes in doing that, we miss the cheese, the smell of the cheese that tells us that it's going stale and we have to do something totally different.
Yeah, yeah. So, what's been happening to you? I know you're a consultant, I know you're a
Yeah.
public speaker, you're a motivator. Let's go as far back as 10 years ago when I met
Okay.
you. We
Yeah.
had we had a discussion. You came to my house. We spoke
Oh
about we
yeah,
spoke
yeah,
about
that's true.
dreams. We
Oh my
spoke
God.
about our plans for the future.
You hadn't
What's been
moved into
happening?
the presidential palace then.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, that was the presidential palace at the time. But
Oh,
yeah, at the time. Tell me what's been happening over the last
well,
10, 11 years.
when we connected, I remember, I was just rounding off my service to the government. I was an advisor on small, medium-sized enterprise. So I was working with small businesses. Small businesses are the cottage industry. They're the ones that hold up or prop up an economy. And I was working with them. I had a great time working with over 500 businesses, growing them, working with them. And at the time when I met you, and we connected and I came over, I was just winding up with them. And I thought to myself, what am I going to do and what can I do? Now, I'm a dreamer. I like dreaming things, And for me to dream, I dream with my gift, my talent, what I have. And I was good at motivating people, but I didn't use the word motivation anymore. I make a distinction between motivation and inspiration. Motivation is when you talk the talk, put everybody on a high, and then you go away and they come crashing down the next day. But I'm an inspirational speaker in that I will inspire you. That means you will hear me say things to you that, connect with you, but I'll challenge you. But what are you going to do about it? And as best as I can, I create an enabling environment for you to actually apply it. And that's where the ICE man came, Iceman. Plus the number plate looks pretty cool on my bike. But as at the time when we met, I just said to myself, you know what do I like doing? And I remember that what I was doing was actually change, changing organizations and changing the lives of people. I look at their current state, and once they agree and they talk to me about where they are and that they want to do more, then we map out the future state and then we put in a transition process or transition plan. And that is when I began to focus on change management. My background is in strategy and policy. And then I brought that into what it is I do now. I'm a change management consultant. So, and I run a company called Metamorphosis. So it's METAMOR, then with the 46. So the alphabets are morphing into the numbers, and it's been pretty good. We have an office bank in Lagos. We just opened one here in the UK, and that's going pretty good. But let me say this: I have what I call, because they call me the Iceman, I have something called "tip from the iceberg," a quote. I always give a quote. I want to say this to anybody listening: not every change leads to transformation. So there's a difference. So that's what I've been doing. Along the way, we've worked with some stellar companies, global companies. I've met some fantastic people. We've had some fantastic times, but we've also had some downtimes. And then, of course, the pandemic struck, and that's a different story.
Yeah, which requires change as well in terms of how you
It does. In fact,
personally, how you run your business and
yeah.
relationships, and yeah.
If I'm honest and very vulnerable, you know, it's like, physician, heal yourself. Now, I pride myself being a change practitioner, doing a lot of transformation programs and implementations and executions. But when the pandemic hit, I knew where I was, and it really affected me. And I'll be a bit. Let me give you my personal experience because it will help. You see, two things are very, very critical in when we want to do things differently, when we want to change. It's adaptability and flexibility, which I will get to in a minute. But I remember on the 25th of March 2020, I closed the office because once the lockdown happened, I closed the office on the 25th of March. And I said, listen, guys, we're closing the office, there's lockdown, and business was already going into a lull, and for 4 weeks, for 4 weeks, I just sat at home and I was thinking to myself, well, what's going on here? Now I'm thinking, but I'm a practitioner, I should know. And after a while, I realized that that period was a period of anxiety and a period of depression because I was talking to my sister. And when I told her a few things, she said, my God, that's depression. Oh, by the way, and then I said a few other things, and she said to me, that's suicidal. And I was worried about that. And I said, my God, really? How come? But moving away from there, there's so many engagements I had that I canceled, so many things I didn't do. I sat at home, I called the people at work, telling them that, look, this thing, we don't know how long it's going to go on for. And then gradually I began to come out of it and we began to meet online. Now, that is adaptability. You see, the moment things happen to you, and this is what most people need to take on board, is that our plans, every time you have a plan and you have an objective, it looks like that in a straight line going up. But in reality, it's like this. Now, why is it like that? Two things: the environment. The environment out there impacts what you do. It's very volatile. It's very unpredictable. It's so complex and ambiguous. And then you also have people. So when the pandemic hit, nobody anticipated or expected it. But I'll tell you a funny story. At the beginning of 2020, when normally we have a strategy retreat, we go away for a few days, and we met, and I said, guys, what if we did some scenario planning? What if we can't meet face to face anymore? I don't know why I did it, but I said, what if we can't meet face to face anymore? How do we meet with our clients without us meeting them physically? And we said that we have to do it online. We have to do a few things. So we called it the ADME strategy. I think it's the aggressive digital media, something engagement, you know, and then the pandemic struck. But it still took me a while. Now, adaptability is when you begin to change your behavior. You know, the dream is still valid. The objective is still valid, but the dreamer, it's the dreamer's mindset. Do dreams die? They never die. The dream is there. What actually happens is the person, it's the issue is always with the dreamer, not the dream. They say, oh, your dreams didn't come true. They were waiting to happen. The dreamer just didn't activate it, or there was something in the way that didn't allow it to happen. So adaptability, and you'll be hearing a bit about it now, and adaptability is really where you are able to identify the behaviors you need to actually adopt, to engage. And we also have to understand is that because the only certainty right now, the only certainty we have is change. So what we've got to do is we've got to understand that, listen, things will always change. Things will always change, and we've got to be ready for it. Then the other thing is being very, very flexible. We can't be rigid. We say we want to achieve these 6 things. You know, sometimes we have to settle for 4. Sometimes we have to change all 4, but we have to be flexible, and we also have to be adaptable. So in that time, that in the intervening period, that's really what's been happening. We've been having a great time until last year. And now it's, you know, things are beginning to plateau and even itself out.
But yeah, you mentioned a couple of things, which certainly I never ever gave it any thought, which is, for example, motivation is different from inspiration in terms of inspiring people. The point because quite a number of organizations during the pandemic folded up because they weren't ready for the change. And a good example is they didn't have an online business. So anyone without an online business, unless they were able to radically, you know, change their approach, were basically going to lose out. And, you know, it's really interesting how some of these online businesses have made a killing during the pandemic. You know, they've made a real killing. So my question to you is this: are you born to be a change agent? Because there are some people who are afraid of change. They like their comfort zone, and they're not prepared to change anything. You know, but as you rightly pointed out, the world is constantly changing. Tomorrow is Monday. Who knows what's coming ahead? And I have noticed from my experience is that there are people who will embrace change immediately. You know, they thrive. And there are some people who are reluctant to embrace change. Why is that?
Okay, so the first thing is that I've been very, very fortunate that I'm doing what I really, really love. I stumbled, you know, it's very, you see, it's so important that, you see, I always say this, that you're either doing what you were born to do, or what you are taught to do, or what you are induced to do. Induced to do means that it runs in the family. I think I was listening, Mr. President, when you were speaking to one of the guests, you know, and sometimes we're doing what was in the family. I'm a lawyer because everybody in the family, that's what you were induced to do. Then what you are taught to become is that it seemed to be the flavor at the time. Everybody was into IT, and I went into IT. But what you are born to be is when you have this natural inclination and proclivity for something. I've always had this thing about I like to help people do things different. But the other thing is this, I'll be honest with you, is that when I was doing my my first degree in business studies, I focused on strategy and policy. I just found that I enjoyed it a lot. And then we did something on strategic change. And, you know, I got fascinated when we started to look at 70% of change projects fail. That is, they'll say, this is where we are. We want to do something different. And 70% of the time they don't work. It's worldwide. Now it's 75%. So I was fascinated. Why does that always happen? And when I began to look at it, I began to find that there were reasons for it. 1, things not crafted out properly. 2, it's because they didn't have the right objective. And then that's how I began to go into it, got myself certified, got myself qualified, and I enjoyed it. But I need to go back to the question you were asking, is that why do some people embrace it quickly and some people go? It's a mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mindset. And people who embrace it quickly, were they born to embrace it quickly? No. It's very simple. The first thing you have to understand is that things are not always going to be the same. Technology teaches us that. When they bring out a new product, it's the first version of it. Then they'll bring out the second version. I showed my kids a telephone, you know, those ring wind
Yeah,
telephones
yeah,
that we
yeah,
had
yeah,
back in the
yeah.
days. They didn't even know what it was. Things change. So the first thing we have to teach people is that don't hold on to anything for too long. You
Yeah.
find that the people don't want to change are people who are very, very rigid. They're stuck where they are. They're enjoying what they have, especially if they're in the company regard, in organization regard, when they're enjoying a monopoly or a
Mm,
government that's been there, or you get this in Africa where you've got
mm.
no allusion to you, Mr. President. You're different. We need you. Where they've been there for 26 odd years, and then they want somebody else in there, and they don't. The key thing is this: if you can put it in your mind, it's a growth mindset that,
Yeah.
you know, every single day. I put it this way: at some point you grew taller,
Yeah.
you know, but you never saw yourself growing tall, did you?
Mm,
You never
mm,
saw the inches moving, but you did grow tall.
mm.
That's what it's like. It's inevitable, but you don't see it, but it's inevitable. So when we're planning, we've got to plan with different scenarios and options in mind. But our brains are lazy, and that's why we don't do it.
Okay. So the point about change, but my view also is that, especially when I look at my country, um, change is not good. When I say change is not good in terms of having different presidents, because there are times when you need continuity. If you look at the Republic of Chad at the moment, they have a problem because the president, who has been in existence for who knows how many years, 20 years, is no longer, he was assassinated a couple of weeks
Yes.
ago. As a result of that, there are security concerns around the area. It's almost like Libya and Gaddafi, you know, and how the whole place just
Oh,
collapses
yeah.
as a result. So, is change always very good? Is it always a good thing to happen, or it depends on the circumstances?
Well, yes and no. Yes, it's a very good thing because it's inevitable. No, because people do not, first of all, practitioners are not involved and people don't know how to change. If I look at Laughter Republic, for instance, you're in a good place because I know you have succession planning in place. If anything happens to you, perish the thought, and I know there's no assassination attempt waiting to happen. There are things in place. There will be continuity. That's changing itself. Now, the issue we're talking about with the other countries, we won't mention any names, is that there was no continuity. What it was is they wanted to hold on as long as they could. And even when they died, they weren't thinking of life after them.
Mm-hmm.
So succession planning, that's change in it. Now, Libya is a totally different country. Before Muammar, because I did a lot of research in that area at the time, because I asked myself, I said, you know, if you wanted to start a business there, they'll give you about £100,000.
Mm-hmm.
Hospitals were free. They were doing well, and the people weren't complaining.
Mm-hmm.
But I watched a video when he was captured. He looked at those people with bewilderment, and I'm saying, "But they're his people." And he said, "But
Mm-hmm.
what did I ever do to you?" And when I began to investigate, I found that, you know, I wasn't sure if those were real Libyans because when the whole issue started, Gaddafi was going about town talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't as if he was running away.
Yeah.
Now, in his case, did he want to change it? He had built a nation. What he was changing the fortunes of his people.
Mm-hmm.
Change is good if you know how to go. Change is good. And even those that don't want change, they change anyway. You're going to die one day. You're going to need somebody else one day, you know. So is change good? Yes, if you have a transition process, and that is where the problem is. Change fails because there's not a good transition process, and also change is seemingly bad because the people that want to make the change are not explaining it and carrying people along. Communication is very, very critical, and stakeholder management is very, very key. As your six wives would know.
But you have certainly done your research. Let's go back to this question, and the title of today's podcast is about
Mm,
um, dreams, and do
yes.
they really die?
Mm.
And you know, considering what advice would you give? So for someone who is our age, because we're over 50, but still has these dreams and actually believes that, I don't know, maybe they wanted to play football or I don't know, ballet or whatever it is. What advice would you give them? Because your view, what is your school of thought? Are you saying that dreams don't die at a certain age? Shouldn't you really just give up and say, okay, fine, and be happy with where you are in life?
Well, the first thing is that, you see, I use the word fulfilled. The first question I ask people is that, and even though I say, are you fulfilled? They say, what does that mean? It means that, are you in a place where, you just look around and you feel that I've accomplished something, I've achieved something, I've been doing something I wanted to do. Now, I see so many people who are contracting. I see so many people, talk to so many people who are contracted. And you said it on the last time you were having a discussion with, I think it was a pilot,
Yeah.
pilot colleague. The first thing is, are you fulfilled? The second thing is this: why do we always think that, oh, because I'm a certain age, that is it too late? I think the issue is the moment you start asking that, and I've done it myself, is that I said, is it too late for me? And the reason I'm asking, is it too late? Because I'm looking at what lies ahead and I'm saying that I don't have enough time. How do you know? Because if we think that way, then there'll be no KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, today, because he was 70 when he got his breakthrough. My question is this: it's not about, can you do it? The question is, do you have the desire?
Yeah.
One. And the second thing is that, have you addressed the fear? Because you suddenly realize, I actually played football on Friday. I went playing football on Friday. I was really good at the back, but I felt I was going to die though at the end of it. I couldn't run as fast. The kids were running around me, but at the end of it, they looked at me and said, "Oh, uncle, you could play. You could play. You're good." But I realized that I didn't have the pace, I didn't have the speed, but the technique, the experience did not leave me. So what has happened? Can I still play top level Premiership football? No. And I think that is what is preying on people's mind, that at a certain age, they take their eyes off. The dream is still there, but they take their eyes off the dream and they focus on what they can and what they cannot do. And that is where they say the dream dies. The dream didn't die. The dream is there. The dreamer died.
But isn't there also, just using a football as an example, or let's just say this, that for some people, it's in their mindset, it's a cultural thing. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, fine, you're from Nigeria, yeah, you want to start performing comedy at the age of 45. Come on.
Yes.
Come on, man. Is this midlife crisis, or is this really a mental health issue? Do you understand what I'm saying? Because your environment and the cultural demands of your environment define you to a certain extent.
It has the tendency to do so.
Yeah. I suppose when you mentioned KFC, and the fact that he set it up at the age of 70, that is really a fascinating story, because I mean, you know how our culture is at the age of 70. The thing that really is interesting for me is the fact that when you reach a certain age, it's as if people are already thinking about, well, in 10 years' time, you actually know anyway, because okay, I'll slow down.
Exactly.
That mentality of slowing down, right, and rushing around the place, still pursuing that dream because you believe that it's not going to die, it's still within you. I don't understand that mentality.
Well,
it's never been mine.
Yeah, you remember that in our own environment and culture. Remember, I told you that the environment plays a part, and then people. I said that from the onset. Yeah. But we grew up in an environment that dictated that you have to do certain things at certain times. Yeah. But my wife, she's an engineer, but she's also a qualified nutritionist. She said that no matter what age you are, your mind is still sound and the same. It depends on what you feed it with. That you can still think things and do things. I mean, I met a 70-year-old who's a 70-year-old foreign exchange trader who is making a killing out there. Somebody introduced me and said, look, she's 70 years old. She just started and she's doing quite well and she's happy, And I need to say this. It's never about your age. In fact, the older you get, the more experience, you've eliminated all the obstacles. The key thing is the fear. The key thing is the way you are thinking. And let me put it in perspective. Because of my experience and yours, Mr. President, because of the environment we came where, go and do this, you know, like I said to people, they say, oh my God, you're smart. I said, really? Let me tell you my story. I got into year 7. So we got into year 7, Form 1. I repeated Form 3. I did my year 11 3 times. Then I did A levels. Then I went to Polytechnic. Then I worked for 3 years. Then I went to university. And then during university, I broke my leg playing football. So I was out for a year. So, but the thing is that I never gave up. The dream did not die. So the dreamer did not give up. The dream was there. What is the dream? I want to be this. The moment you said it, it's not dead. The dream is still there. So we focus on the dream. The dream is dead. The dream is never dead. The question is the dreamer still alive?
Yes.
So and that helped me. That helped me a lot. And let me tell you what the turning point was. You know, sometimes when I give talks, I write my story. And I had an auntie when I was really struggling during my GCSEs, and they had the family meeting.
Yes. Yes.
They'll
Yes.
have the family meeting. Is the black sheep, the this sheep, different kinds of sheep. And she just asked one question. They said, all of you are saying these things, but have you asked him what does he want to do? And everybody kept quiet. And she said, give him to me for a year. I said, come here, son. I'm taking you out into the bush. You know what that means? Taking you away from home and everywhere, putting you into a remote school.
Yeah.
And you can do the subjects you want. And you know what? I did well. And that was it. Now, here's the story. I have a son. He's 19 years old. When he was about 11, they said he's had special education needs. And, I was looking at him and I thought to myself, there's nothing wrong with this boy. It's just that his way of learning, they didn't understand it. And everybody bought into it. And he was happy to coast along like he didn't know Jack. And one day I came to him, I said, son, you're 419 in me, which means you're trying to swindle me. I said, there's nothing wrong with you. You're a smart kid. They just don't know how to teach you, but you've got to buck up. Now, this is a boy when he will say, Dad, send some of the Tom Tom, those African sweets, 108 now. And he'll come in England here, he'll be selling them £6 for a pound, exotic African sweets. And he made a killing. And he didn't need pocket money. And I said, but how are you getting away with it at school? He said, because in their tuck shop, every single sweet is a minimum a pound. The Mars bar is a pound. And he was undercutting them. I said, but it's illegal. He said, well, I wasn't selling it on site. So you order it. And he was entrepreneurial. Now, he finished. So they were all concerned. And I told my wife, I said, leave him alone, let him be. He's good in this. He'll be fine. Now he finishes his GCSEs and he says, I'm not going to university, Dad. I don't want to go. And I said, that's fine. What do you want to do? He said, I want to go into either IT or be an estate agent. Let me explore. So he took up a job. Now, you know that where we came from, that is a gargantuan failure. That he's finished his GCSE. He only scraped through with the skin of his teeth. One, then he hasn't gone to uni. Now his peers are in university. And I just said, leave him alone. Yeah. And that's the thing. I would rather, I'm 55 years old, okay? He's 19. I said, even if it takes him another 10 years to find himself and he starts a career something at 30, he's got another 30, 40, 50 years to blaze it. And I think, the foundation stage is let's try and identify what we really, really want to do. And it takes time. It takes time, and then as long as we found it, because why is it that people say, this is what I wanted to do? So it means you did have a dream. You did know what you want to do. Yeah. Go for it. Fear sometimes stops them.
Let's talk about fear. One of the things you said is that the older you are, the easier it is for you to reignite your dream. Do you feel that the older you are, the less fearful you are of taking risks? Or is it the other way around?
It can work both ways, but I'd like to lean on the side of that. When we're older, we become more circumspect. So we may not call it fear, but we can rationalize why we can't do it anymore. There are younger people in there, this, that. For instance, I asked myself one time, I said, I was having during this, when we shut the office, I said, I should go and get a job. And then I rationalized, I said, I'm running a company, I've got staff, I've got 25 people working with me. And I'm saying that maybe I should do some contracting part-time. And I said, well, if I do, I have to answer to different people who are younger than me. That's how people think. But in the first instance, I said, look, that's not even what I wanted to be doing. I'm doing what I'm doing. I've let a situation has happened, and that's my thinking. So the older you get, we rationalize, and that rationalization is born out of fear that I can't do it again. I'm getting old. Old is not a death sentence. Old is like you are mature, you know better, you think better. But you know what? It's in the mind. It's what I call the silo mentality, where it's all about what you can and what you cannot do. In fact, it might be that you're going to be better this time, and sometimes it could be that you need people around you to actually help you. So I don't do old. Call me old, call me young, that's up to you. But what I want to do, what I want to achieve, I'm going for it. And this is what has helped me. When I look to the future, I don't look at I don't look at what does the future hold. I say, is that the future? Is that the way it is? I just keep walking towards it. It's what I want to do.
Yeah.
That's totally that's how I've been able to handle and crack it.
Where is it easier to say that depending on what I want to do is compare Nigeria and England, and that question, dreams don't die, do they? Is it easier to succeed in realizing your dreams in England than in Nigeria when you reach a certain age? Do you honestly think, for example, that at the age of 45, which is when I created Laughter Republic and became president, that if I was in Nigeria, would I have been able to succeed at what I do now?
If you were in Nigeria, okay, so well, people would argue that in that it's easier in the West because the systems are there, but it's horses for courses, and I tend to disagree sometimes. If you were in Nigeria and at 45 you started Laughter Republic, the environment was rife because the comedy circuit and the entertainment circuit was big, and mind you, at that time you would have been slightly different off the cuff because nobody went into comedy with that. And your material, poking at the arm for, your material would have been so rich, so unique. The only thing I would have been worried about is that they probably might have arrested you for trying to take over the government, because they would have, because somebody would have said, Obonjo for president.
Which is
where is Laughter Republic?
Well, which is what happened online.
Disclaimer: I am not asking for President Obonjo to take over. But yes. There you have it. But it's that. What does the environment have? We have to look at the environment. Let me say something. Let me put Nigeria in context. Let me use Nigeria. The Nigerian environment actually allows you, if you embrace it, to be creative, to be innovative, and to be tenacious. The difference is that we confuse comfort. We confuse comfort with making it. So in England, there's a system there. I tell you a quick one. When I have never worked in Nigeria, so I decided that I wanted to take up a full-time job quite a few years ago. When I went to Nigeria, I said, let me work for a year. 6 months into that role as a COO, what I suddenly realized was that the salary didn't come through. And I said, what? They said, oh, money didn't come. I said, so what? What's that got to do with me? You pay me anyway. And then my staff were telling me that, oh, it happens. I said, so how do you survive? Oh, we survive. We borrow money. We do this. We do that. Guess what I then realized? I said, no wonder Nigerians can't plan. We take it for granted. I said, in England, the last day of the month or the 25th, boom, it's there. Within 3 days, it's gone, but it's all distributed. I said, how can they plan when they have no guarantee that it's going to come in? So you have that comfort. You have the systems that work for you and give you a level of relative comfort, but it has its own dangers. You can be lazy. Now, in that kind of environment, you've got to first of all have the goal, have the dream, and then because of what you don't have, because of the restrictions there, because of the way people think there, it allows you to actually be creative. It allows you to dream up things. I mean, you should see what they're doing. And mind you, there's a new wave of entrepreneurs in that country that are getting funded to start up businesses that have nothing to do with who they know. They're
Yes.
bucking the trend.
Yeah.
They're bucking the trend. They're disrupting traditional businesses. So the answer is yes. The West gives you a level of relative comfort. You know, this is the way I look at it. I look at the heavyweight champion of the world, Anthony Joshua. I look at the UFC champion, the style bender, Adesanya, Kamaru. They're all Nigerians, but who have, you know, I look at the footballers and I ask myself, if they were in Nigeria, would they have done as well as they are now? And I'm saying that the talent was always there. The talent was always there. What would have happened is that they would have to come here anyway, but it's easier over here because the system, you see the system.
Yeah.
But now look at if Okocha was in England, if he was born in England, raised in England, you wouldn't see his talent like that. You know, it was just raw. So my answer is, the starting point is, you see, the environment plays a part, but you've got to actually understand it and work with what you have.
Yeah, but brilliant answer. Brilliant answer. I think it's more about the attitude and not, you know, laying blame on the environment and the system. You know, if you want to do it, you've got to do it. If you met someone, certainly someone, doesn't matter what age, who felt that their dreams had died because they just, you know, their mindset is the dreams have died. What advice would you give them?
The first thing I'm going to ask is that, what dream, how did it die? That's the first thing. Before, if they say my dreams have died, advice, and I say, well, how did it die? What was the dream? So for instance, that's the first question I'm going to ask. So if you give me an example, I'll say, well, what was your dream? They say my dream, I don't know, my dream was to be to run a thriving business. I said, the dream is not dead. You're dead. Why haven't you started it? And what you find is that, first of all, you will get fear, you will get excuses, fear, procrastination, and all those things. And I just say, listen, if you are afraid, fear is real. Fear is real. If you're afraid of failing, then you will never, ever enter that dream. The dream is not dead. It means the dreamer dies the moment they're afraid of failure. One of the things I've learned is that the best people, the most innovative people, and some of the most successful people, they don't mind failing. Look at the autobiographies. Look at everybody's autobiography is the same. They will say, well, I started poor, broke, and all of this and that and that and that, and then it happened for me. They will give you, they start off the story error-strewn, how they failed. Look at Richard Branson. We celebrate him. We say so many great things. But remember, the rocket, when the rocket launched, it didn't go far. Look at Elon Musk. They are strewn with failure. Look at the guy that created the light bulb. And I say this, you said your dreams have failed. Your dreams did not fail, you failed. And let's put it in perspective. Let's take responsibility. Your dream is a dream. I want to become this. That's the dream. It's still there. What has failed is you. Now, are you prepared to do what you didn't do before? That is, despite all your fears, despite all your anxieties, go for it. And I tell you this, you know, it is people's perspective of failure. I define failure as, I define failure totally different. So somebody asked me the other day, said, are you a failure? I said, I embrace failure because failure teaches me how to be successful. It eliminates the obstacles to success. That's what failure does. Each time you fail, you know how not to. So the next time you start, and that's it. But we see failure as some bad thing. In innovation, you see, we do a lot on innovation. Innovation is creating things and applying it. And innovative people sometimes look at jazz music. It was hitting the wrong note. They say, oh, that sounds different. And before you know, but it sounds nice. And they started exploring. And before you know it, they had it. You know, when you look at, you know, the what's that thing called? Those sticky yellow Post-it notes. Apparently 3M, the guy that was working on Post-it notes, he wasn't trying to design Post-it notes. He was trying to design something that really stuck onto the wall. And as he was doing it, he made the mistake, got the Post-it that stuck, but it wasn't Brit. And before you know it, yeah, there you go. There they had it. So sometimes it is very, very important to put failure in perspective. Failure does not mean it's the end of the world. Failure just means you've just discovered, hey, you've just eliminated one obstacle. But we treat failure as, oh, that means that I can't move forward. So the advice I will give people is that, listen, Your dream is not dead. You seem to be dead. Let's resuscitate you and let's find out where you died. And you always find it's the area of procrastination, is the area of fear and failure.
Wow. So you can bring people back to life. Have you, from your, without revealing it, obviously confidentiality, is that something that you could do for people who are listening to this?
Well,
If they contact
something...
you, if they contact you and say, okay, fine, I have a dream. I've listened to this podcast. I have a dream, you know. I was just about to do my job. I have a dream, not a wet dream, a political dream.
Mr. President, you sounded as if you were related to Martin Luther King.
Yes, yes, but yes, yeah. So you're basically saying if anyone's listening to this and they have a dream, and they want to start it all over again, they can come to you.
Of course you can. And look, let me also say this back to them if you're listening. Yes, I can, but I want to be factual. It's not everybody that I can help and will help, because sometimes we also have to validate the dream. What they think is a dream is just a wish. It's just a nice to have, good thing to say, to show that they're serious and they're going somewhere, but they were never going to do it anyway. So the first thing I will do is that, because so if they come to me, I say, okay, I'll help you. But then I'll say, what's your dream? And I'll test it, I'll validate it, I'll vet it. And sometimes it fails the test. You say, it's not a dream.
Okay, so when you say it's you have to validate and you need to test the dream, what are the things that you have to, what are the things that you take?
Let me give you the simplest example, the African example. Somebody comes to me and says, oh man, I have dreams. Yeah, you do, yeah. Well, what is it? I want to be rich. I want to make a lot of money. That's not a dream. That's not a dream. Doing what? Because money, you see, the moment they began to commercialize, I want to be super rich, I want to be the most, then I say, listen, you're telling me to help you, or you're trying to chase an outcome. You see, if you're rich, your wealth is the outcome of what you've actually done. So first of all, you've got an objective, which is the dream. This is what I want to achieve. Then you've got the output, that's the second O, the output, which is the action. Then you have the outcome, which is the result of the action. But guess what? Everybody calls the dream the outcome. So immediately, what they're supposed to do, they're not even thinking about it. And then, remember we talked about the environment, then you've got the other O, the obstacles, and then you've got the other O, the opportunities. I call it the 5 O's. So you have your objective, you must have, so it's very simple. What I do, if you're looking at the vetting process, I will say, okay, what is their objective? Is it really an objective? Is it smart? Is it realistic? Then what's the output? Because the objective, you don't do the objective. The objective is something you say you want to get to, is the desired, So I say your objective is the desired outcome, and your outcome is the achieved objective. So the objective and the outcome, they are both ends. The objective is at one end, which is the outcome that you desire. But your outcome is then the objective you achieve. Then in between, you've got the actions you take. That's the bridge. And while you're taking those actions, you've got to keep your eye on the obstacles and the opportunities. You see, because like I said earlier on, that your actions, that thing is not a straight line. So the obstacles, look, even during this pandemic, Mr. President, so many people, there are people who became millionaires and billionaires because of this pandemic. There you go. So it was, yeah. So it was an opportunity for some, and obstacles for some. So, but let me put it this way. Look, one of the things we have to teach, and remember that it's not taught in curriculum. At best, you have self-help motivators that do it. But the truth of the matter is, I think it should be part of educational curriculum. Teach people how to set teach people about objectives, outputs, and outcomes. So when people say, I'm chasing this, I'm doing a hustle, I said, no, what you've got to do is, first of all, be clear about where you want to get to, decide the actions you need to take, and even once you've decided about those actions, be ready to be flexible and adaptable to change them depending on the opportunities and obstacles that come. And then the outcome will emerge based on what you did. Every situation you find yourself is based on what you did or did not do.
Yeah. You see, my people, there is a reason why I brought Iceman here, because this has just been really fascinating in terms of the title, Dreams don't die, do they? And he has really convinced me that dreams don't die. It's all down to you. And he has his extra powers to find ways to reignite your dreams. But he will validate you first. He will have to. It's almost like, remind me of when Britain, many years ago during the Gordon Brown days, to do with the Euros, and they said they had some tests that you had to go through first. If it doesn't pass the test, then Britain is not joining the Euro. What are your plans for the future? How ready are you? Because obviously the lockdown restrictions is easing as we speak. As of yesterday, there were people in London protesting. Even people were dying in India. They were protesting about their freedoms. They have no idea what freedom actually means. They make me laugh. They protest about wearing a mask. When people protest elsewhere, it's because they want to remove a government. But that's a different thing entirely. The British people make me laugh. They seriously make me laugh.
Mr. President, with all due respect, I'm British, you know.
I know.
But you're having a stab at me.
No, I'm not having a stab at you. I just find you guys so weak. It's unbelievable. Having spent a year under house arrest here, and you're not happy with your government. You go on Twitter and you shout, happy. And that's all that happens, Yeah. So in terms of your business, what are so you operate in Nigeria and you also operate in England.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting that you have not set up an office in Laughter Republic. So I will urge you to make sure that happens.
Mr. President, you told me that doing business in Laughter. Look, I feel that doing business in Laughter Republic is easy. But if now that you say it, let's talk about it. The concessions, and I'm happy to do that. Yeah. I'm already on your platform. I'm happy to come back again. Look, you see, I'm happy to work with Laughter Republic, Mr. President.
Yeah.
Can you keep your side of the promise?
Yes, of course we can keep our sides of the promise.
So I'm good to go.
But are there other countries that you are planning to expand to apart from Laughter Republic? Are there any other countries apart from? No, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Something's happened to my good friend here. Something has happened.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. So yes, the question was.
So,
look, this happens. This happens a lot when we are on my podcast. We get infiltrated by either the MFI or the FBI or the CIA. They won't leave me alone. My question is this: which other countries are you hoping to expand your business, or is it just Nigeria, England, and obviously Laughter Republic?
Actually, incidentally, I must say this is that we had a hub in South Africa, which we had a hub in South Africa and an office in Kenya, which we closed. For now, my focus is Nigeria and the UK. We've been operating in Nigeria since 2011. In Nigeria, Metamorphosis has been in Nigeria since 2011. That's our head office. Because of the pandemic, I came here at the end of September, and we registered and opened over here. Now, the thing is that Nigeria is going to be the base. But one of the things I will say is that I don't look at it as where do I operate anymore? Is it here or there? Because the internet has opened it up. So for me, let me give you an example. We're delivering a contract for a client right now. I have a team on ground in Nigeria, and I'm here and I'm part of it. And I meet with the client online. So what I want to do is, in terms of operation, what I want to do is scale the business, meaning that I want to offer what we have to everybody that needs it. So the boundary so I'm no longer looking at the country as the boundary. I'm just switching on the laptop, and whoever I can reach through there, that's it. Yeah. If I need to go to the country, we will. But right now, physically, it's Nigeria predominantly, and then the UK, because the UK needs help.
Yeah, certainly needs help. Government needs help too. Maybe you you know, say
I can add value
dream.
to the Republic as well.
Yes, but not just add value to Laughter Republic, because say dreams don't die. And I, will tell you that I have great plans for Britain if they would let me run the country. So maybe we can talk outside this meeting how I can make those dreams a reality.
Well, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
So Laughter
Indeed,
Republic is not
Mr.
just a
President.
it's not just about being a micronation, but actually being involved in the politics of it all in the UK.
Mr. President, would I need any military service to be part of the Laughter Public nomenclature? If
No military
or
service. The fact that you're an old boy, we went to the same secondary school, you know, that
and I was a cadet.
And you were okay. That also that adds that adds value to it as well. So my final question to you. My final question to you. The name of your company is called what is it? Metamorphosis?
Metamorphosis.
Yeah,
METAMOR46.
Okay. Before you tell my viewers and listeners how we can find you, why that name? Why did you give your company that name?
It's funny. I'll tell you this. When I wrote that name down, I was actually with I was working with the business government, and I looked at a friend of mine, a colleague of mine, and I said, look at this. He said, oh, I don't know, Tunde. I don't know what this is. It's not going to work. But I liked it because metamorphosis is when you change, okay? When there is change, and I just thought METAMOR, alphabet, 46, the alphabet changed to numbers. So, and I thought that's what I do, changing from one thing to the other. But let me say this, when we started off, I gave you a quote. I said, not every change leads to transformation. Now, I want to be clear about something. In Nigeria, and this is where I really want to add value to Laughter Republic. In Nigeria, everybody said, change, change, change. They got the change and they were still complaining. Why? Now, and I always say this, what is the difference between the caterpillar and the chameleon? The chameleon changes its color. It's not permanent. But the caterpillar changes its shape. So one is change that is temporary and one is change that sticks. So what people don't realize is that what they want is not change. What they want is transformation. And if you want transformation, there's a transition process, things you actually need to do that actually stick in there. That is the big thing. Change sounds very sexy, but the truth is the grotty part of it is transition. There's a transition process before you actually see that transformation. And sometimes people don't know what to expect or what they should expect. And that is why I said we vet from the onset. So that is how I took metamorphosis, and said, look, people look at it. And I like the fact that they always ask sometimes they say metamorphosis. So it's a talking point. They say metamorphosis. So it's a talking point sometimes, but I'm able to explain it and put change, transformation, transition, alteration, substitution in perspective.
Okay. That's really interesting. And you just reminded me of something, because I don't know whether you will agree with me or not. The person who really made that emphasis on change was 12 years ago when Obama became president, and he said, remember he used to say, change is coming to America. Yeah. And that was really, even though I'm not sure what changes he was able to make while he was in power. But that's a different thing entirely. But I think,
he made changes, but did they, he made changes, but did they stick? Did he transform, did he change America? Yes. Did he transform America?
Yeah, that's another.
It depends on who you ask.
I mean, transformational change is another subject entirely that we need to.
Transformation is change that sticks.
That sticks, yeah. Look, I don't know what has happened, but it's getting dark where I am, and it seems that we've lost power supply. I don't know what my energy.
I hope there are no drones. I hope there are no drones in the sky, Mr. President.
I don't know. I just hope that the energy minister hasn't siphoned the funds, because it's getting really dark, and it's really dark, and I can see you. You're bright, and I can't see myself. But I'd like to end by just saying how wonderful it has been for us to have this conversation. It's been a wonderful art of conversation, from talking about transformative change to, your dreams don't die, and how it's really wonderful. You have a very fascinating story because, like I said, we haven't really gone into that level of detail. But I remember what your plans were 10, 11 years ago when we spoke, and I'm glad to see it happen in fruition. It's actually been delivered. So well done. If my people want to need your assistance, where can they find you? Are you online?
Simple. Yeah. Yes, Iceman at metamorphosis.com.
Okay.
Iceman, ICEMAN at METAMOR46.com.
Okay.
You can find me there.
And there's so many change consultants out there. What is different about you or your organization?
It's very simple, it's very simple. People and behavior. The hardest part of change is the people part and the behavioral part. We don't shirk away from it. Because first of all, an organization might want to change things. They need the trust of the people, and I can say this, with change, whether you're the consultant helping, with change, whether you're the person who they want to change, with change, whether you're the organization, one big thing is very, very critical. It's trust. And if you are a change consultant and you don't understand the place of trust in there, it won't work for you. That is why 75% of it fail. And trust means you ask 5 questions. Can that person do it? That's the ability question. Will they do it? That's the reliability question. Testimony, have they done it? Reference, testimony question. Then there's the motive question. Why are they doing it? Then there's the destiny question. Where is it going to lead? That is the critical thing, because the moment somebody buys in, you can go anywhere. If you are united in thought, collaboration, a shared objective, if it's shared, it doesn't matter whether you're making mistakes along the way, you're going to get there because you're united and resolute in thought. So that is what we look at. We build the trust, we manage the stakeholder, we focus on the objective and where we're going. What I see a lot in our profession is that people look at how they can manage resistance. And I say, no, how can we it's inevitable, it's there. Let's keep on driving towards the goal.
Folks, it's a shame this art of conversation has to come to an end. I'd like to thank Iceman aka Tunde Alabi for joining me for what has been a really fantastic conversation. It's made me think that I need to reorganize my cabinet because I've had some ministers in power for so long, and change is important. I also think I need a transformational change minister to help me with my ambitions. And but we will talk outside this meeting. Isn't it?
Indeed,
never reveal your plans. But Tunde, thank you so much, Iceman. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you continued success in your endeavors. And I hope you have found this useful. Enjoy the rest of the evening. One final, message from you, and we shall abruptly end this conversation like there's been a coup.
Mr. President, it's always a pleasure. I just want to say thank you very much. It's great that we are sharing this. And if I had anything that I wanted to say to the people, I'll say this: change is the new certainty. Flow with it.
Folks, he's giving you an idea. Change is the new certainty. However, I rule for life until death do us part. So don't have any ideas just because you've heard the change consultant talking about change. It's for life. Well, look, today, thank you so much, Iceman, and catch up with you soon. I will give you a call later on and we can catch up properly. Thank you so much.
Long live Laughter Republic.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye, Mr. President.
Bye.